Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Dandadan Season 2, Episode 3. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode. So let's break it down. So immediately picking up where the last episode left off, we have Ken versus Gigi, but rather Evil Eye. So technically you could look at it as Turbo Granny versus Evil Eye in a way. But either way, the clashing of the feet, leg, but the spirit ball, like it bursts. But the thing is, the Evil Eye can reconstitute it. So Ken grabs Momo and it becomes like this escape sequence, which this is actually kind of a great battlefield for. I mean, granted, he can't build up max speed like he would probably need to or want to. I mean, granted, he's not going full throttle. He kind of already did once, so it's like, can't really be doing that right now. So, but either way, he's running with Momo, which the entire time I'm like, is Turbo Granny there? We haven't heard her say a single thing, and she's very mouthy. I'm surprised she hasn't said anything. Even when they managed to escape later, I was like, she didn't say anything. And then we find out, oh, it's because she was still there. She never got unstuck. But either way, we'll get to that soon enough. But it's actually, like I said, it's just like this being a like kind of an escape sequence, and like that thing, it stays basically in the same location. It's flipping around and cartwheeling around, kicking the ball, but it stays in the same area as like Ken is like running up this place. It's like a giant like maze and staircase. Basically, he has to make his way up. Luckily, like, you know, him and Momo combo well, where like she can use her arms to kind of like, you know, pull them up when they kind of fell down, but Ken just keeps it pushing, and they manage to get away from the Evil Eye, enough of a way. But the problem is the area is filling up with poison, because this thing, the Mongolian earthworm's whole shtick is like, you know, when it's running away like this, it's pumping poison and leaving that goo behind to kind of trap its enemies and slowly kill them, so they can't stay in here. So they have to go to the exit, but the only exit, it's super far in the sky, so it's like, how do we even manage that? And so Ken wants Momo to go off on her own, because he's like, you going up there means you'll be the only one who can find a way to get to us down here. Which Momo doesn't want to leave him here, because she's like, what about Gigi? And it's like, don't worry, I'm going to help Gigi. Only way this can work is if you're up there, so I need you to trust me. And she's like, all right, I know you'll handle this, and I'll save you guys. I'll save both of you. So what is Ken's solution to this? Oh, I'm going to put you in this like little chair sofa, and I'm going to kick it as hard as I can into the air, and you're going to jettison like a rocket off of it to get yourself like as much height as you can. And when I'm like, oh God, because I guess you could also make the argument she kind of stunted the momentum a little bit, because the chair had already kind of stopped its momentum when she pushed off of it. But it's like, yeah, her panicking, like, wait. He's like, 3. She's like, wait, give me a second. 2, kicks it into the air high as possible. She like jettisons, using her power to like jettison herself further, but she's just out of reach. I was like, oh my God, please don't tell me she's going to miss it. I mean, I'm like, Ken could probably still grab her before she fully falls, but you're still like, that'll probably be painful. But luckily, grabbed on at the last second. It's kind of interesting. She technically doesn't have to pull herself up. Basically, she kind of almost has like the psychic arms like retract a little bit to drag herself up, but she manages it. And in that moment, Evil Eye comes and confronts Ken, because he had just said like beforehand, like, yo, oh, you're a yokai siding with the humans. It's like, well, to be fair, Ken is a human with the yokai powers, and granted, it's not the same situation as Evil Eye and Gigi, but still similar enough. But I love that he's just like, yo, didn't I tell you, like, basically you're going to pay for what you did? And so it turns into a full-blown battle. This is probably the toughest battle, definitely the toughest battle Ken has had so far, because even the battle with, like, I'd probably say Acrobatic Silky, like, he doesn't have the benefit of like, yo, this is Gigi. Like, not only is he can hit hard and kick hard, well, Evil Eye in Gigi's body can hit hard and kick hard, but also this thing can kind of attack from anywhere because of that like soul ball, essentially. So he has to dodge this thing's attacks, and doing the best he can. He's landing some blows, but it is a difference in like physical strength, and obviously like even with like Turbo Granny's power, like Ken's still no match for this thing inside of Gigi. So ultimately he lands some blows, like to the point like the mask that Ken wears in his in his Turbo Granny form ends up breaking halfway. But also even Evil Eye can't stay in here too long, because the poison's starting to affect Gigi's body as well. So it's like, okay, I'm wondering, was Ken affected by it at all because of Turbo Granny? Because we didn't see him in the same situation that Gigi was, but maybe he's like being exposed to it a little bit more because at least like Ken is like dashing around constantly, so he doesn't have like long enough periods for him to breathe it in. Maybe that's the justification for it, or maybe it's just it affects Ken's body a little differently than it would Gigi's because of Turbo Granny's constitution versus like Evil Eye's, whatever the case may be. He's like, yo, I gotta wrap this up. So what does he do? He traps Ken basically inside. Instead of it being a ball anymore, he makes the house in the form of a shack, a little house. And it's actually really sad because when you like zoom into it, it's like you see the spirits of everyone, all the kids that were sacrificed, but also like the parents that were killed by an earthworm. All the souls you get like for a moment you get to see the faces associated with it, and it's like, oh, that's heartbreaking. And also like, because the sad thing is they probably like, it makes you wonder, do they side with Evil Eye? Probably, because it's like he's kind of the executor of your vengeance and like your vengeful spirits, all the pain you went through. He's, but also like, is he doing what they want? It's kind of the sad thing, because it's like, is he manipulating their spirits? Like, do they want this? Are they fine with that? Probably not. They want to rest, but there's been so much pain. So maybe they are just as angry as Evil Eye, but you could also probably make the argument, maybe it's just like he's feeding off he's justifying his own anger, justifiably so. Like, he has every right to be angry and want revenge, but I think he's kind of using that as an excuse to manipulate these spirits in this way. But like I said, maybe they are more okay with it than I'm giving him credit for. But yeah, but basically Ken's in a worse situation. He has no place to move, and Turbo Granny is all about her momentum, and he has nowhere to go. And so he's taking lick after lick, and this thing is like enjoying it, running its mouth about what it's going to do to Momo afterwards. But then I love Ken just grabbing his mouth and is like, just stop talking. You made 3 big mistakes. 1, you hurt Momo, and that I can't forgive. 2, you violated my friend. Give my dear friend back to me. And I was like, that's sweet, because him and Gigi have become friends, even though he probably wouldn't have thought that was possible. And Ken doesn't have many friends, so the friends he does have are that important to him. It's like, Gigi's my friend, so give him his body back. And I love that it's like, okay, so what is Ken going to do? There's no room to move, but he goes full throttle when he ducks down, and then he like uppercuts, but with like both hands put together. And I was like, interesting. It's like almost like a reverse haymaker, almost, in a weird way, I guess you can almost say. And he does it repeatedly. It immediately made me, I was like, yo, I'm kind of getting a little bit of Luffy's like Gatling gun or Gatling storm technique. Especially with him hitting the roof, it definitely gives me Gatling storm. Or is it just, it's Gatling storm, right? It's been so long since I saw the Alabasta arc in like the anime, so that's why I'm waiting around for it for the live action. But I'm like, because I want to say it's the Gatling storm, but I can't remember. Spoilers, when he punches Crocodile like a shit ton into the ceiling of the area they're fighting, like that's what it kind of gave me vibes of. But it took me a while when he was counting and doing what he was doing that I had to pause the TV, because I was like, this was so beautifully poetic and genius. How is Ken doing what he's doing? He's doing it super fast, but he's squatting. I was like, that's so fucking good from a storytelling perspective, because every time we've seen Ken exercise, yeah, he's done some like crunches at his desk, but what's the main exercise we saw him do both in, what was it, episode 8, when Ira tried to like make out with him, and also in episode 11 of last season as well? What was it he was doing? Squats. I was like, that's so good. He's just squatting super fast over and over, going from 1 to 20. Do it, repeat it, 1 to 20, repeat it, 1 to 20, and does it one last time and hits him through the house. I was like, that's so fucking sick, dude. I love stuff like that. I get super hyped about that. I swear I want to say it was a webtoon. I don't think it was an anime, but maybe it was. But I swear it was a webtoon where like basically everything the main character had used, it's like, oh, I run out of it. Oh, what I'm going to do is I'm going to beat you with the basic spell. You thinking like, oh, I don't have all this other stuff, but it's like, I win by using the one. Oh, God. I finally remember what it was. There's a webtoon manhwa called Questism. At least that's what the title on It might be translated differently in other places, but at least on the Webtoon map, that's how it's titled. Basically, kind of spoilers, but basically the main protagonist beats a bit bad by using the one technique, which was like the first technique he'd ever learned, or first thing he ever did at the beginning of this series. I love stuff like that. It's not quite the same, but it has that same energy. Another comparison I can make, probably a better comparison that maybe most people would get, it makes me think of like Naruto versus Neji. Once again, we're kind of in spoiler territory, but this was so long ago, so I do apologize. But the one time Naruto landed a direct hit on Neji, it was after he used the jutsu he could never get right, the one that he failed over and over again, the clone jutsu. And as we know, like, you know, if you watch enough Naruto, you know how far Naruto pushed that shadow clone jutsu and how much that became a part of his like strategic like repertoire when it came to fighting. But either way, it's just the one technique he couldn't get right is what he ended up helping basically lead to Neji's defeat. You know, the genius versus like the screw up. You know, all that, you know, a prodigy versus hard work and stuff like that, right? So it's actually reflected heavily in this because Gigi is so athletic and he's basically the antithesis of everything Ken isn't. But it's like Gigi is very like athletic, but Ken has been working out and putting forth the effort. So it is beautiful how that works out. But I also love the last slide too of like, and the third thing you did, you really pissed me off. And now that's really bumming me out. But obviously he pushed himself because this was his second full throttle. Because he pushed this particular full throttle to like, this is the furthest I think he's ever pushed a full throttle. Because it was only his second one, but he did it, but he pushed it repeatedly. He did like what, at least like, he did it like 4 or 5 times. So like anywhere between 80 to 100 squats in like seconds, you know, so. Like I said, I just thought that was just so beautifully done, like bringing that full circle in that capacity. But he comes out victorious, but he's like, yo, I can't just be laying down. Got to get to some elevation so that Momo can help us. And then he's dragging Gigi. But then it's like, well, I was like, well, the thing's knocked out, but it's not completely out of Gigi's body yet. But he hears Turbo Granny screaming and crying, and Ken shows up like, oh, you were here. And her being so full of tears in her eyes, she's like, oh my God, you idiot, like, come and save me. So he's getting wood planks to go get her. I was like, oh boy. She's even saying like, don't trip. I was like, oh God. I was like, you got this, Ken, you got this. And when he finally does get her out, the wood board is flipping up and he falls face first. I was like, oh, it sucks, dude, but it's also poetic. You literally went balls to the wall, had such a cool hero moment, and then immediately it falls flat afterwards because it's like, well, you're too early in your career to have 100% success rate. So we're going to give you a 50-50. Like, hey, you came out to battle the winner, but this situation you utterly failed. And so you and Turbo Granny are stuck crying out for Momo to come and save you. So we have that. Momo, on the other hand, while that was all going down, she was trying to find a way to get some rope or whatever to lengthen down. So she grabs up some curtains, like ties them to like the staircase and tries to lower it. And it gets anywhere close to being long enough. And so she's stressing about it. She's like, what do I do? What do I do? And she's thinking about a memory with her and Gigi back when they were kids. And she just says the word suicide because she was looking at a worm dried out in the sun because she had just learned from Ken how do we beat the Mongolian earthworm? It's like sunlight because like they're basically close to bacteria, and so ultraviolet light from the sun will hurt it and kill it. So when she's causing a fire, I thought like, oh, are you burning down the house so that there's more light shining through? But I'm like, it's so deep on the ground, plus this thing is hiding in the ground itself. It's not even exposed down there somewhere in the wall. So I was like, other parts of the ground. So I'm like, would that even work? But then like the firefighters showed up and I'm like, I was like, what? I thought like maybe you were trying to get them to release, like get a ladder down. I'm like, what's going on? But then one of the cops is like, yo, did you start this fire? But she was like, yeah, I did, but you got to know what's going on. To be fair, I believe that cop she's interacting with is the same cop that works with the Keto family. So he kind of knows what's up because he's trying to say like, because she's like, she brings up the Keto family. He immediately changes like, oh, brings up Gigi's family. Be like, oh, do you hold some like resentment towards them? And was trying to like take her off in the cop car. Luckily, the earthworm reacts. And at first I was wondering, I'm like, oh, is it all the sound from the firehouse, from that firehouse? But she also made a point to be like, yo, point the water at the ground. I was like, what is that? I was like, is it supposed to tear a larger hole? I'm like, what's going on? So we find out from that memory from Gigi, basically it's called earthworm suicide, which is a very fucked up name. But essentially, when it rains a lot, earthworms breathe through their skin and it's almost like drowning, so they come up to the surface and expose themselves out and about on the surface. But the problem is the sun dries them out and kills them, so that's where it's called earthworm suicide. So you're like, oh, interesting. In an attempt to save yourself from basically being hampered by the rain and drowning underground, you come to the surface just to end up inadvertently killing yourself. And that's what Momo was aiming for. Everyone else runs away. She's watching this thing burn because the whole point's like, yo, the sun's going down. I need to do this now. And then the thing tries to duck behind the wall. She's like, hell no. Grabs the fire truck and smashes the rest of the house. She's like, this house has been cursed. Obviously, like, it's been generations upon generations of people living here. I mean, this ground has been the sacrificial ground for all that stuff. So, yeah, and then the worm gets burned up and dies. And I was like, okay, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. And it happens. I was like, okay, of course the Keto family's still alive. It's only been probably God knows how long it's actually been. It's probably only been maybe half an hour grand total. I mean, once again, you got to think about it. We're probably on DBZ time. We're on anime time. The example everyone will always go back to is Namek was supposed to explode in 5 minutes. How long has this fight between Goku and Frieza been going on for? How many episodes? So it becomes that type of thing. But yeah, so luckily they didn't get digested yet. I don't know the time frame of how long it takes an earthworm, specifically a Mongolian earthworm, to digest something. So turns out the entire family's alive, but immediately after the worm is dead and they've been regurgitated, the volcano goes off. Now, the Keto family is like, you idiot, what did you do, Momo? You're the reason, by making sacrifices to the great serpent, we were able to stop this from happening. Obviously, it's more likely, probably the earthworm either did stuff underground that kind of, offset some of the potential for the volcano to erupt, or it caused so much havoc underground, it caused the volcano to erupt. Who knows? It's probably a situation, and probably the irony behind it will probably be there is actually no correlation. The volcano erupting just happened to be a terrible timing, but it probably never had anything to do with it. Maybe just his entire. I mean, once again, I know the sacrifices did nothing anyway, or at least I'd like to believe they did nothing anyway. Not like I like to believe that, but it's I believe it had nothing to do with the volcano not exploding. It just didn't, and it just happenstance that when the worm dies, it happened. So there might be a correlation of like I said, not directly, the worm's dead, so no more sacrifices can be made, so the volcano's erupting. But more likely, the worm was doing something underground that was inadvertently causing the volcano to not erupt, or it did something before it died that led to it erupting. So. Or it could be something else completely unrelated, like something evil or supernatural. Or it could just be naturally it's time for it to erupt. Who knows? So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us. Obviously caught a little bit of a glimpse of next week's episode. Obviously, the evil eye is still in Gigi, and lo and behold, the people it hates the most, the Keto family, are right there, especially because the mom looks so much like the woman who sacrificed him so many years ago, but also some of your descendants look exactly like you, so he's seen your face more than once. It's actually the third time he's seen your face. When you killed him, when her ancestor killed him all those years ago, and then generations later, he saw another member of the Keto family who looks exactly like her. So it's meant to fuel that, where it's just I know it's you. It's meant to add more fuel to that fire of almost I'm getting my revenge for myself and everyone else you sacrificed. Not only just because you're the Keto family who did all this, you have the exact same face of the woman I hate. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this all shapes up and plays out next episode. I'm so excited to see what happens. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.